So we have to recircuit the brain to do healthy things. And that's why most of my guys are back in the acting industry, back playing music and getting signed up again. You go back and you be that person you was when you first took that first drink, drug, or whatever it is, porn, sex, food, cake. You go back to that person, and we're very, very empowered when we do that.
Shopping, coffee, sugar, attention, work. These are all things that we can be addicted to. So it's not just alcohol or drugs or smoking, video games, food, gambling. There are people out there that are even addicted to exercise. Today's guest is all about answering your addiction questions and helping you solve those problems. His profile is longer than my arm. So I am going to post it for you so you can read and you can see all the credentials. But let me tell you, you don't want to miss this episode. So for me, experience is everything. I'm not going to listen to somebody that has never been in menopause tell me how I'm feeling or what I should be doing. Experience is everything. And our guest today has had some incredible experiences, which has actually led him to where he is today. So I would love to welcome our guest, Dr. Robb Kelly.
Thank you so much for having me. Hey, guys, great to see you all.
So you have a very amazing and unique story. And when I heard you for the first time, it really spoke to me. I felt all the feelings. I cried, I laughed. So obviously you were called into this for a reason. So can you tell me what brought you into what you do today?
Well, I'm born as alcoholic, and I like drugs as well. So I started drinking at the age of 9, and eventually, fast forwarding to about 26, 27, I had become homeless. So I've lost my wives, cars, kids, houses, business. Every single member of the family would not speak to me, and I was ended up on the street. So as a hopeless alcoholic, I would go to the doctors and ask him what was wrong with me. And he said I was an alcoholic. So first of all, what we found out and years later is alcoholism is the only self-diagnosed illness in the world. So 10 DWIs do not make you an alcoholic. So alcoholics are born, drug addicts are made, or addicts are made. It's simple as that with the addicted personality and addicted brain. So that's what got me in, because I was sick of people saying, just stop for your kids, or just stop, or don't do that, or pull yourself up by the bootstraps, or get your stuff to. It's like, I couldn't stop drinking. And, my crying babies, my distraught wife, I couldn't stop. Nobody could give me a reason why, apart from, oh, you're an alcoholic, you're not, just don't drink one day at a time. It's like, alcoholics don't do that. Alcoholics will kill somebody for a drink. So one day at a time, just don't do it. It's not going to. So I delved into the neuroscience behind addictive behavior and alcoholism. And I found out some real interesting things over the last 15, 16 years that I've been studying.
You've told a lot of different stories. You've really related to people. I absolutely love the fact that you're completely transparent. I feel like when you hide things, it tends to make you reach out for addictive behaviors. And so I'm sure being transparent really helps to keep that under control. Now, you've written a book about your experience. And what is the name of that book?
It's called Daddy, Daddy, Please Stop Drinking. It's what my eldest daughter at 3 years old said to me before I went homeless.
What was the scenario that night?
Uh, it started with me coming down the stairs one morning, still hungover, about 2 a.m. in the morning, searching for some vodka in the kitchen. When I found some, I put it on the side counter of the kitchen. I turned around to get a crystal glass. This is how insane I was, because I'm not drinking from the bottle. So I turned around to get like $100 crystal glass. And as I turned around, my wife come behind me and she snatched the bottle of vodka off the side of the counter. And she said to me, I think you've had enough. What I should have done is thanked her, gone to bed and slept it off until the next morning, where we had a board meeting. Unfortunately, what this alcoholic did was took a kitchen knife out and stabbed her 3 times. Then I fled to Spain because I knew I would get arrested for attempted murder. Now, she went to hospital, but she was okay. So when we decided to drop all charges, I came back. And when I came back, she was there with the children, and she left that day. And I got an attorney, and I got them back the day after with a court. So when I got them back, I placed him in front of the television. I walked into the kitchen and I just said, it would be great to have just one drink to celebrate getting the kids back. 2 or 3 days later, I can't remember, police kicked the door down. The babies had not been fed or changed diapers for 2 days, 2 days, I can't remember. They kicked me away and they served me with papers that said unfit father. And they took my little girls and my youngest, my nana got them and my eldest mum took them. And as they're going to the door, I stumbled to the door. The police was there, the services were there, the child protection services there, the mother-in-law was there. And my eldest daughter said 3 things as they led her away. She said, Daddy, Daddy, please don't go. How resilient are children. And then halfway down the path, she turned around again. She said, Daddy, Daddy, please get better. And as they got to the big iron gates of the house, they opened the gates and she turned around one more time and she said, Daddy, Daddy, please stop drinking. And I couldn't do it. And this is the first time I've ever shared that story without getting upset. But I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it for them. I couldn't do it for me. I went back in the kitchen. I opened a bottle of whiskey and a month, 2 months later, I found myself on the streets. I remember thinking on the streets as well, like, oh my God, what happened? What the hell just happened? Because although alcoholism took a long time for me to get to that place, and there was loads of drunken episodes in between, of course, it took me very quickly. And only after 14 months on the street, in an absolute breakdown, I've tried suicides and 2 occasions I was dead and they brought me back to life again. Hated them guys for that. After 14 months or more, and I dropped down to my hands and knees and I was sobbing like a baby. Wasn't sobbing because I lost my children, cars, wife. I was sobbing because the first time in my life I realized that I couldn't stop drinking. And that's what it took.
Wow. So the guilt that comes with that is pretty intense. It threw you back into the drinking and
Time and time again, I was drunk completely on the streets for 14 months, devious ways, hurting people, stealing alcohol. I was a different person. I'm literally a different person. See, I was brought up on the project, so I could fight and I could survive. And that's what kept me alive and kept me, because I used to fight physically every day, try and get what I want or earn money, bare knuckle fighting. It was just horrendous, absolutely horrendous. I would not wish that on my worst enemy, what I went through. But again, pushed me to do what I do today. My opinion and experience and research tells us that not so much drug addicts, alcoholics, unless you've been through it, you cannot take another alcoholic from A to Z to getting better. You cannot do it because you do not know how an alcoholic brains work. And you can study for 100 years in universities. It doesn't make any difference. The idea is of one alcoholic speaking to another, miracles can happen. Add the education to that. People start getting well. Add the experience and the time that I've been around, and it's a winning solution. We have a 97% success rate. The treatment centers are 5%. AA is 3%. We have a 97% because we don't just take anybody home. First of all, you have to pass an assessment. And I am aggressive when it comes to the disease, absolutely aggressive. And unless you follow on our stuff to the T, I will fire you and you'll be sent away because I can't watch people die anymore.
that's incredible. How did people come out of that?
Well, I had no intentions of coming off the streets. Something like 96% of people in Manchester on the streets die on the street. So there's 4% actually get off and do anything with their lives. So one morning I'm back into Manchester. I'm drunk. I'm coming through into sobriety again. I'm banging headache and I'm tired. And I just dropped down to my hands and knees in the pouring rain in the middle of nowhere, factories and offices, 2 a.m. in the morning. There's nobody there. I dropped down to my hands and knees and I started to sob like a baby. Like I said before, the reason I was sobbing is I realized I couldn't stop drinking. I looked up to the sky as an atheist because I'd been molested by my priest. If there's a God up there, I can't do this on my own anymore. And about 30 seconds later, this guy come around the corner. Apparently he'd missed his last person from a Bible study. He'd taken this shortcut that he'd never taken before back to his house. He came up on me. He said, "You need help." And I told him I was an alcoholic and I was dying. And he said he was in recovery. He took me back to his house and he said, "You can stay here for as long as you like, but you've got to come to these AA meetings with me." So I had to go next day because it was a dry bed and, just a blessing. So I went. While I was there, a guy introduced himself as John. He said, "My name's John. I'm a recovered alcoholic." And I went, "Oh my God, what did he just say? You can't recover from alcoholism. You got it for life." So after the meeting, I walked over and I said, "Would he sponsor me?" And he said, "No, but I will be your spiritual advisor for 12 weeks. Every Wednesday, I left Derek's house And I walked to John's apartment. I left at around 6, got there for 7, left at 8, got back for 9, something like that. Again, memory's fading these days. He wouldn't let me in before 7, so I had to sit outside if I got there at 10 till and wait for 7. And when it was 7 o'clock, he'd go up and knock on the door, he'd let me in. And we talked about recovery stuff, 12 steps, God, philosophy, it's just amazing. 12 weeks, 12 times, 12 weeks I went there. And the last day with him on the Wednesday, he hugged me and he said, God's got big plans for you. Your life's going to change tomorrow. And I said to him, I love you, John, and thank you for everything you've done, but I'm in a guy's basement and I blow up mattress. Nobody knows I'm there. But thank you anyway. But I walked home different and I felt different and I felt empowered. I got home, went to sleep, got up the next day and cleaning the house because that was my job while Derek was at work. And he came home at lunchtime and he said, oh my God, the guy that sweeps the factory floors just resigned. Do you want a part-time job? And I said, oh my God, yes. So I went there, turned into a full-time job towards the end of the week. So after 2 or 3 weeks, I got my first pay packet. I went to the gas station and I bought him a little teddy bear and a card. And I wrote on the card, thank you for introducing me to God, because he, with a capital A, took the compulsion to drink away. And I walked back to his house. When he got there, knocked on the door, no answer. He didn't look the same, by the way. He looked like it was vacant. We're knocking on the door. I was so excited to give him this little teddy bear and a card and tell him how well I've been doing. And the next door neighbor called and she said, can I help you? And I said, yeah, can you tell me where John is? Like, has he moved or something? And she said, John. I said, yeah, John. And she said, I've only been here 4 or 6 months and it's been no one in that apartment while I've been here. So I let her close the door thinking she's a little insane or drunk. That's fine. So I knocked on the right-hand door, the apartment, and a big guy came to the door. He's like, what do you want? I said, where's John moved to? And he said, John. I said, John, the next door fucking neighbor. Where's he moved to? And he went on to tell me in a gruff way, almost going to punch me, that you cannot walk in that apartment because if you walked in, you fell down to the apartments downstairs as well that are all dairy. There's no flooring. I let him close the door and I'm thinking, what the hell? I've come here 12 times before, the same circuit, the same stairs, knocked on the door. So I went back to the meeting where I'd met him. And as I walked in, the chairman was like, oh, Rob. I said, oh my God, you remember me? He said, yeah, I remember you. You're awesome, blah, blah, blah. I said, does John still come here? He said, John who? I'm sick of hearing this. I said, John. Recovered over near the coffee machine. I was speaking to him and I've been working with him. And he said, and I quote, 30 years on, Rob, we was all smiling because you were over there speaking to yourself. Never found that man. In fact, when I got wealthy, I put the best private detective in Manchester onto him. Nobody could find him. But I use that program today, and that's why people get well. It's not my program. It's God's program through John. And he told me I'll be taken far away and all this crazy stuff. So, it's, I am empowered. And now it took me 20 years to say this. It was an angel. That took me 25 years to say. And he empowered me with the program that gets people well. Because he told me, John said, God wants you to know this. And I was half in, half out with the God thing. I don't know. Tell people they can recover from alcoholism. And I said, I don't think I can do that, John. You can't do that. You've always got alcohol. You can't be cured. He said, you can recover from it. There's no cure for a common cold, but you can recover from that. That's what you need to teach. And that's what I did for years. And I got threatened and I got snared at and, all this stuff. Oh, here comes the God man. Here comes the guy. Thing is, the bottom line is going there on these meetings, is people getting well and people getting their lives back. And in the early days, we decided that, we did some research on families of alcoholics that are still living in the house. And we developed a program around the families as well as the alcoholic. And what we found is when a family, especially a wife, is involved in the recovery success rate goes up by 42% alone. So yeah, that's the story behind that. A crazy story. And I kept that to myself for a long time because I feared people sneer at me and laugh at me, but I don't care these days.
Yeah, I don't think you need to care. And how crazy are you? You have a 97% success rate, right?
The thing is, people always sneer at that and go, that's impossible. First of all, it's not. Second, we've got every record kept since I've come to the United States some 18 years ago, all filed. There's some we can't release, but I can release anything to anybody with their permission. It's over 8,000 patients over the 30 years I've been doing this. So it is possible. It's 100% possible. If you don't think it is, you're being taught or counseled by the wrong people. Because you can fully recover from this and lead in a life beyond your wildest dream. Alcoholics and addicts are the only people that get two lives in one lifetime. The first one where we die, like either literally or psychologically or spiritually. We come back from the dead. We should have been dead 50 times over. And then we start this new life and we realize that what life's all about. So alcoholics and addicts, drugs, sex, porn, whatever it is, are blessed, in my opinion and my research, they're blessed and chosen to go on to help other people.
Maybe I'm not an alcoholic, but I definitely have addictions. I'm addicted to sugar. What is the difference between like alcoholism, addiction, and a use? I love food and sugar. I take it in excess. And once I start, I don't really want to stop. And the next morning, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do better today. And I may do better and I may do better for days or whatever, but I always succumb to it. So I know it's got a hold on me. I know there's a physical reason for that because our body craves it once you've fed it. Being clear of it just a few days and I feel so much healthier.
Yeah. I mean, so alcoholism we're born with, it's a predisposition. You can trace it back 3 generations. If you can't trace it back 3 generations and nobody in your family suffers from alcoholism, you abuse alcohol. Okay. Me as an alcoholic, I'm allergic to the ethanol in alcohol. It's a biological reaction that I have to any kind of alcohol whatsoever. So that's alcoholic. We're born, since at the first drink, we're done. It could be years, but we're still done. We're going to have to die, get treatment, or, end up in jail. Now, drug addicts show up the same, everything the same. Drug addicts do not have the allergy, the sickness, the body getting sick. It's the only addiction, alcoholism, that has the allergy. The rest don't. But the rest have the addictive personality, which means that one's never enough for anything, absolutely anything. Now, that can be good and that can be bad. Obviously, if it's damaging our body, the sugar, of cakes or whatever, the porn, psychologically, it's not good. But neural pathways can change. We can rewire circuitry to make sure that that obsession becomes good. Because what most people don't know is everybody has an addiction. So if someone's going to the gym every single day, is that addiction or not? Well, what happens when you go on vacation? Because if you go on vacation with your family and the first thing you do when you get there is to seek out the gyms, you have a problem because that's defeating the object of being a family when you miss it most of the time. It's like alcoholics. Once you start getting well, it's like, do you need to go to 20 meetings a day or whatever? No, you don't, because you're defeating the object. The idea is everybody has an addiction. Alcoholism is slightly different. They all show up the same and it all is as damaging as the first. So the abuse, taking care of the alcoholic, addiction as a whole, you can change this around so much. The guys that got the best addiction in the world, who maybe never drank, never used drugs, but have the addictive personality, the guys running Google and Apple, all these great multi-billion-dollar companies out there. You see, I've worked with 8,000-ish people, and I can tell you 99% of the people I work with go on to do some great things. Actors, movie stars, musicians, politicians. We've had the lot because there's no way, unless you have severe brain damage, there's no way can your brain not be circuited. And also we can't forget the mind, which sits inside the brain. So the saying, mind over matter, the brain's matter. Once you make your mind and train your mind to do something, you can do it.
They can go through their whole entire life and never have an addiction or be an alcoholic because they've never tried it.
They're the guys that change the world because we have that kind of brain. You have to remember, guys, if you've not heard of me before, might shock you, is alcohol has 1% to do with alcoholism and the same with drugs and everything else. You see, I never had a drinking problem. I had a thinking problem. The hypothalamus, the basal ganglia, and the amygdala, 3 parts of my brain that differ as an alcoholic to every other person in the world. So we've got that going on as well, 1%. And the reason why we did a lot of research on this was at my own experience of standing outside a liquor store at 5:30 in the morning, needing to drink. I'm shaking, I'm sweating. I had a little string vest, pair of shorts and flip-flops, and it's snowing in Manchester. And I'm sweating, banging headache, can't talk, shaking so severely I can hardly open the door. Pakistani gentleman that owns the shop, he knows me. He knew me before I got sick. He always used to let me in, close the door quickly because he would lose his license if he were caught. I don't know what happened this morning, but I walked in shaking and not being able to talk, and I put my £10 on the counter. And I literally do it. And he put the bottle on the counter. On this occasion, I don't know why, this was the reaction. As soon as I held that bottle, the shakes went, the headaches went, everything changed in milliseconds. And I looked at the shopkeeper and I looked back at the bottle and I thought, holy crap, it's not about the alcohol, because it's not. The alcohol, the sex, the food, the porn, the drugs, it's just a symptom to the disease. So if I had chickenpox, people go, hey, Rob, I see you got chickenpox. I always say, how do you know? I can see the spots all over you. Well, actually, that's the symptom. The actual infection in illness is inside a viral infection that can kill me as an adult. But you don't see that. Same with alcoholism, drugs. They see the alcohol, they see the drugs. Guys, if you're running treatment centers and trying to get people well, why are you concentrating on alcohol? It's got nothing to do with it hardly, or the drugs. It's the way I react. It's the addictive personality. It's wanting to go. Like if I go in a store with a friend, even today, maybe, if I'm tired, hey, Jimmy, what do you want? I'll get a sandwich. Okay, you want a drink? No, just a sandwich. What are you having, Rob? Give me 2 sandwiches, 3 Cokes, pack of chips, and it's all or nothing. And people need to realize this, that we can never just do one thing. So we have to recircuit the brain to do healthy things. And that's why most of my guys are back in the acting industry, back playing music and getting signed up again. You know, you go back and you be that person you was when you first took that first drink, drug, or whatever it is, porn, sex, food, cake. You go back to that person, and we're very, very empowered when we do that.
I have a lot of people that I care about that have addictions, including myself, people I love, myself. And I think part of it is you need to love yourself more than whatever the addiction is, but sometimes you can't. But do you find that maybe some of these people are of a higher IQ? I think by nature, people see the homeless, the alcoholic, the drug addicts, and they think, oh, their IQ is lower, or maybe they're not as smart. I think it's the opposite.
I think that's the people's general view on that, without a doubt. I was invisible when I lived on the street, and I'd already been to Oxford University, so I was a doctor. I was a practicing psychologist, a licensed professional psychologist with a PhD. But you become very, very, very invisible. The thing is about addiction, all addictions, is it does not discriminate. It doesn't care if you're black or white, thin, fat, old, young, master, not master, teacher. It don't make any difference. So it doesn't discriminate. But I'll tell you something, when I was on the street, I met professors, I met heart surgeons on the street. The alcoholism had ruined their life. And this is the gritty stuff I like to get down in. If most people think, oh, he just can't stop drinking. And if you only knew the people I met on the street, it was absolutely crazy. Cabinet minister, heart surgeon, orthopedic surgeon, teacher, musician, whatever it is, there's a vast array of people that this affects. And what happens with lower class, middle class, whatever it is it becomes an embarrassment to the family. And eventually you isolate, and alcoholism and addiction wants you to isolate so it can kill you. My brain wants to kill me and make you look like an accident, like an overdose or drinking myself to death. That's constantly with me while I was on the streets. So yeah, it affects everybody. 99% of my people are celebrities and A-list movie stars and stuff. None of them will come out when they get well and go, hey, I was suffering from this, but now I'm better. No one's going to do that, because it's still out there as a stigma that if you abuse alcohol or drugs and blah, 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 you need to drop it because you're no good. And that's not the case. All my staff in all 5 offices around the world are recovered alcoholics and addicts. All of them. Most of the staff that do my gardens, do my yards, they're recovered alcoholics that I've met along the way. I employ people that have recovered from alcoholism, addiction, cake for whatever it is. I employ them because they're the best employers, and they've seen life for what it is. See, I used to hate my time on the streets when I was on the street. But when I look back, I realized 14 months on the streets for me in my industry was like a semester at Harvard University. The knowledge, the information I got from the stories that, oh my God, what is happening? That's what set off my studies into what's really going on. And 100% of people can recover from this BS you're going through. I don't care what the addiction is, you can recover. It's called neuroplasticity. We can rewire, recircuit the brain system. We can do that. We've been doing it for, 18 years. I've been in the US. Anything's you can turn around and you can be the best person. I mean, oh, I'm an alcoholic or addict. Well, if you've recovered from that, stop calling yourself that, first of all. Secondly, quantum physics and everything else, science tells you that we can change using the mind. We can be anybody we want to be. Stop putting brakes on your imagination. Oh, well, because it goes back to childhood trauma. The gateway drug is childhood trauma. How many times have I told you, Robert, you can't go to college like your brother? You're too stupid. Was one of my big traumas. You see, it's not a plane crash, although that causes PSD, obviously. But we're talking about what really is childhood trauma. It's nothing like you think it is. People have studied childhood trauma for years, but they don't study childhood trauma with alcoholism or addiction. There's a huge difference. Because if you sat at home listening to this, guys, and you do suffer from alcoholism or addiction, listen to this. We hear things differently. And I know the guys are going, whoa, yeah, yeah. We hear things differently because of the childhood trauma. See, me and my brother was stood on the kitchen table one time. My mother came home and she said to both of us, hey, get half off the table before your father comes home. Get down, you idiots. My brother jumps down and I freeze. Why did I freeze? Because what I've heard, get out of that table. You stupid idiot, is what I've heard. So we hear things differently. So we react differently.
At what age do you stop being affected by these things, or do you ever?
If you do your deep trauma work, like we do deep trauma, it takes 90 days every single day for trauma work, then you 99%, 98, 99% can recover from that stuff because we look at different perception and we have our tools. If you don't get it, you're going to suffer the rest of your life with it. And it's going to be in the craziest ways that you cannot put together. So something in childhood happens here and you behave in a certain way here, going, why do I always do that? Why else do? It's the connection you're missing. You see, a young girl who's brought up in an alcoholic house, sees dad coming home regularly, drunk, beats mom, goes to bed. She learns a few things. She learns the first thing is let's listen to the keys in the door, in the keyhole. Are they jangling around? That means run and hide because dad's going to be violent. They go straight in, dad's in a great mood, so I'm going to stick around. Secondly, what they learn psychologically and subconsciously is that we attract what we think we are worth. Nobody knows the true worth. So we think. So what happens with that girl, tried and tested, guys, is she attracts the guy that ends up being an alcoholic and beating her, to the effect that if she meets a great guy that's kind to her and treats her like a lady, she will self-sabotage that relationship because it doesn't feel comfortable for her. Now, you can't really put that together, but if you do your deep childhood trauma work, you can. You realize why you freeze at that interview. You realize why you can't accept a compliment. You realize all this stuff that's ruling you as a person that you've never thought of before.
Okay, so my gap in understanding that I want you to close for me is if it's the way an alcoholic or an addictive person interprets things, like you and your brother are in the same thing, but it's also childhood trauma. Did your brother have the same childhood trauma growing up as you?
It's different views and different situations to start with. The reason me and my brother didn't react the same is I was born with the alcoholic brain. I was born in that predisposition. Secondly, I think we all have different views. That's why we hear things different. I wrote a book, and in that book, we did certain things about my parents that did some horrible things to me. And my brother and my sister was freaked out, and they called me, what the hell are you doing? But when I explained to them when it happened, how it happened, he was like, oh my God, I didn't realize that. I didn't realize, but it does, it happens. Now, the more I come away from the self-sabotage, which is my alcoholism and addiction, the more I came away from it, the more I realized that instead of looking at the bad stuff, I can now look at the good stuff. So subconscious mind, conscious mind, childhood trauma in the subconscious mind. That's why everything bad that's happened to you is there and good, mostly bad in the conscious mind, 24 hours a day. It's not an AA thing, comes way before that. We're going to act 24 hours a day, that's all we can do. But they overlap each other, okay? So when my prefrontal cortex says to me, you know, what one job of the prefrontal cortex, the main job is to come up with a solution to your problem immediately. And it does an amazing job. The only thing is, it doesn't have to be the correct answer. So my prefrontal cortex with the predisposition will jump straight into here, come up with all the bad ideas, the bad stuff that happened to me, and nothing would stop. So the way you chain and recircuit the brain is to gradually come out of this by doing your trauma and draw from this today. So your conscious brain is making a decision about memories, about all the stuff in the past, and you're pulling all the crap out of here. So 300 neural pathways die each day approximately. They're going to be bad ones when you're in the program, and you're going to create good ones. And the more you create good ones and more memories, you'll start thinking. See, I always have bad memories of parents, you know, and I hate this saying, well, they did the best they can. No, stop that shit. That's not good enough for me. There's always a choice. You always have a choice in things. And the parents are not to blame, guys, for you get over the phone trying to cut. The parents are not to blame, man. It's tradition. It's family generations, the way we act, you know. But you've got to be careful, man, because the way you grow up and the way you're around, well, you go on to do that to your children. So the fun memories come the time they bought me a bike and walked me outside. And it was saying, Rob, who's left that mess outside? And I was going out all scared and there was a brand new bike. I'd forgotten about them times because I'm drawing from the subconscious brain all the time. And that's why my life's in a mess and unmanageable. Got to come from this side always. Then you've got to add the deficiency. in the body. You hear people all the time, well, I've got heart disease, you know, I passed down from family to family. Impossible. I have knee inflammation. I have arthritis passed down. Impossible. You cannot pass a disease down. You can't do it unless it's alcoholism. You can't do it. But what seems to happen, and Gary Brecker is really big on this, is a human biologist, is the methylation of certain foods and vitamins that we eat. We can't change them from raw material into the material we can use and digest. So lack of something can cause the heart disease. Lack of diet from generation to generation can cause inflammation, you know. So that's some amazing news we got, that there's a mixture of things that you can change in your life to be a better person and get rid of all the ailments that you've been suffering from. Like we get all the time. There was a lady come to us and we asked what medications you're on, and she gave me a medication that she's on, SSRI, that she's on because the serotonin was low. And I said, how long have you been on these? And Gary says, you've been on 15 years. When do you think it was going to kick in? Because it obviously hasn't kicked in, but you take him every day. It's like, why isn't anybody asking the question why my serotonin's low in the first place? But nobody does in America. And the reason why is the pharmaceutical company rule the world. If they can't give you a pill or stick you in a treatment center, you're done. It's all about money. So what we do, and other people like us, the reason why there's no great recovery people around is there's no money in recovery to a certain degree, unless you make something of yourself, create something that people will come to. Obviously, nobody's interested in the government or the pharmaceutical industry about getting people well. Both of them want you on meds. Both of them want you taking shots. Both of them want you to continue. Once you get on any kind of med for your health or body from a doctor, you're on that for life. Tell me how that's good. I don't understand it.
55 years. I take nutritional supplement, but I don't take any medications. I might occasionally take some Advil or whatever, but it's a choice and I try to do it naturally, just like you do.
Everything we need wanted to get us back to health is already there. The body heals itself. Simple as that. So the more we come away from medication, the better we're going to feel, the longer we're going to live, and oxygen being the key component that nobody seems to know about. You know, I've come away as well. I will never go to a doctor for my general health ever again. Never, never, never go to them. Now, if I break my arm or my shoulder blade, I'm going to go to and try and fix it. But general health, no. They're going to give you the latest pill that some rep has promised the world to, and that's going to be the next drug. I would never go back to a general doctor. Never.
It's funny you say that because that's what I tell people. I haven't had health insurance in almost 25 years and people look at me like I'm crazy. I said, as much money as I saved over those years, if something were to happen to me that I needed, where I needed to have my arm put in place and a cast, I'll have saved the money to do that. So how do you feel? We're talking about, big pharma and all that good stuff. We're natural, more natural on my show. That's what we kind of focus on physically, is taking care of things naturally. Driving down the road, I see billboards about, is it Narcan or whatever it is, saves lives. And I'm thinking they're promoting that everybody just needs to keep this with them all the time to save people's lives. Why, instead of promoting that we need to get these people on type of a recovery versus handing them more stuff?
I love that question. Absolutely. Wow. No one's ever been there before with me or ever, I don't think. What a great question. Yeah. Who's earning from Narcan? It's like teaching relapse prevention in a treatment center. Why are you teaching relapse? You think I'm going to relapse? So Narcan does save lives. I get it, but stop relying on it. Yeah, I believe it has a place, but guys, I know people that overdose because they have Narcan. And one of these days, it ain't going to work. One of these days, you're going to die. Okay. So what's the cure? What's the magic item for not overdosing? Stop taking drugs with a great program and redirect neuroplasticity, your behavior, your neural pathways, the brain and everything about you, and people call me up. They go, hey, Dr. Robert, I feel like drinking. Go drink. I feel like using drugs. Go use drugs. I'm human. I can't help you. You need to get in a program to save your life. Unless you come into my program, then we'll do our best. But the compulsion has to be taken away with anything. So if you're out there relying on Narcan, God bless you. I will pray for you tonight, but it's not the answer. So before everybody writes in, I just want to put in, it's great for certain people. Yeah, if you've got Narcan, you probably save lives. But I'm talking from a chronic alcoholic and addict to take. If I could take a pill after having alcoholic poisoning, it could just go away. Is that good or is it bad for me? It's probably bad for the real alcoholics and addicts out there.
Well, one of my family members was in a recovery place, and one of the guys there stored up and OD'd on them, and he died. I just feel like they're trying to make it acceptable, and it's not the answer. You had mentioned that we can do anything that we want and achieve anything. You've also mentioned that stirring up your neuroplasticity, the way you do things. Is there anything that you can share that might help us?
I'm going to change your lives now, guys. I'm going to give you three things to do that will change your life, period. Okay. So, three things, guys. One of the reasons why nobody ever has woke up laughing is because of lack of oxygen. Okay. Now, human beings breathe around 20, 30, maybe 40% of their lung capacity. One of the reasons we feel good by going to the gym is not the exercise, it's this in between it. We're filling our body with oxygen. The presence of oxygen is the lack of disease. Every disease in the human body is created in a hypoxic area. Well, if we're only breathing 30, 40% of our lung capacity, then certain parts of the body are not getting oxygen. So in that hypoxic area comes the cancers, comes the growth, comes the inflammation, all that stuff. So let's get some oxygen exercise when we first get up. Get up, hold onto the headboard, and take 10, maybe 15 exaggerated breaths in. Do that for 10 or 15 times. You will go dizzy, but we've introduced oxygen to most parts of the body, which has never happened before, unless we're running or going to the gym. Go into the bathroom, stand 6 feet away from the mirror, because everybody looks at the mirror like this, or women are the worst when they're putting on the makeup, they see all the flaws. So they go out to the world thinking other people can see all the flaws. It's not true. Step back 6 feet, you'll see no blemishes, and you'll see what everybody else says. Look eye to eye with yourself in the mirror and say, I love you 10 times. No other affirmations. I love you. I love you. Let's start storing that subconscious brain of good stuff. Really good stuff. And let's start some neuroplasticity, guys, from tomorrow. If you're right-handed and brush your teeth with your right, I want you to do left for 1 week, right for 1 week, left for 1 week, right for 1 week. Your life, your personality, your go-getting attitude will change within the first day you do this, guys. It's a biological reaction. It has to happen, you know? And people say, oh, it didn't happen. You didn't try it. It's impossible not to, because the oxygen changing your pathways and storing subconscious brain. That's 3 ways you can change your life from tomorrow, guys.
Does it have to be first thing in the morning? Can you start in the middle of the day? Can I start right now? Can I start
Yeah.
right left hand, or
Yeah.
what can I pick one?
People think once they get up, stop the toe, they get to work, blah, blah, blah. They have a bad day. You can start your day anytime you want, first of all. Secondly, people say to me, oh, Dr. I had a bad day yesterday. Did you really have a bad day, or was it just 10 minutes that you continued that all day long? Start your day, do different things. You have coffee, have tea for a change. You walk a certain way to work, walk a different way to work. You sit down all day, stand up, walk around. These are changing circuitries of the brain. The more you do it, basal ganglia, repetition, strength, and confirms. So the more you do something, the more you'll get into it. So the idea of, let's say a pilot needs 10,000 hours in the air, it's that basal ganglia. So repetition. So we learn something that we can do it, no problems at all. Now with alcoholics, at about 10 to the hour, if you can imagine the clock pace, we self-sabotage. Most addicts do as well. But if you can get in that good routine, going round and round every day, it becomes an immediate reaction to how are you gonna change? Step out of that dumb thing you do. Most people get up in the morning, they make coffee, they go to work till 5, they come home and they sit on the couch, they may go to the gym. It's like, change it up. Worst things about human beings that was never meant to be sitting down all day. The more you move around, the more you'll live. The more oxygen is in the body, the more days you'll live. Period. They reckon, it's not my research, that every day you spend in the gym for more than 20 minutes is another day added to your life unless something crazy happens. Because we need to move. Human beings are meant to move around and get that oxygen, get that sleep. Oh, I'm okay on 4 hours sleep. No, you're not. Don't convince yourself. That's not. Come back to me when you're 50 and you look 90, if you live that long.
That's another crazy addiction that's going around right now. These motivational speakers, and even my husband's like, I tried it. It's not healthy. They're telling people you only need 4 hours night sleep. That's all you need. It's terrible that they're telling young people that this is a way to live their lives.
Going to kill you. The body has to have time to repair and can't. Most people die between natural causes 2 and 5. 2 o'clock in the morning till 5, natural causes. That's when the body is at its lowest. You need at least 7 hours sleep a night, because if you don't, it will tell. It's like these guys that say, oh, I work well under pressure. Let me tell you what happened with people. This is what happened. Little Johnny there, boss comes over Monday morning. Johnny, don't forget that report. I need it Friday, man. I need by 12 o'clock. Don't let me down. No problems, boss. Monday goes by. It's only Monday, Tuesday. It's only Wednesday. Before he knows what date it is, it's Friday morning. And somebody says, don't forget the report for the boss. Oh my God, oh my God. So he spends 4 hours typing frantically to get that report in. And then at 2 minutes to the hour, he presses send. Then he sits back and he goes, I work well under pressure. No, you don't. You're going to die early. The body is no good under pressure. The body is no good at 3 and 4 hours sleep. It's just not true. Neuroscience tells us, biology tells us, and the greatest minds in the world, like Gary Brecker, tells us that you're going to die early if you do. So enough of this motivational speaker nonsense. You know, I love these motivational speakers because when you go there, they tell you how to be a millionaire. Everyone stand up and say he wants to be a millionaire. At 2 hours sleep, who's getting rich during that? He is.
Yeah.
Buying his programs, you know, it's BS. We charge obviously because we have a visitor, but at the end of the day, are what they telling you is working? Are they going to tell you you're going to be a millionaire this time next week? Have you become a millionaire? Probably not, because it's not about this. It's not about this. It's about this. And there's only very few people, you know, hundreds of thousands, millions, but very few people that can change this, that know what they're doing. Because without the mind and the brain buying into this, you're never going to do it. You never. So what do we do? The most important thing is the mind and the brain. Do we want to starve it of sleep? And do we want to starve it of oxygen? Because they're the two things that are going to make you live an amazing life. Guys, before motivational speakers speaking to you, before you write in and complain, I don't care. I don't care what I'm saying. You know, it's true.
You're a life coach, and in addition to all the multiple hundreds of things that you are, you're a coach too, so you're allowed to say it. So you have a podcast and you have all the things. So you have a podcast and a book. And of course, you have your amazing recovery center. I'm going to post it all and have it in the details if you could tell me what they are. But I'm also pretty excited about the Robb Kelly Foundation.
Oh,
So
yeah.
if you can start with your podcast and your book and how and where we can find everything, I would love that.
Podcast is probably once a month now. Sometimes we have celebrities like Tom Cruise has been on, but celebrities are those people that are recovering and getting their life back together. Celebrities for me and successful people are the best mothers in the world that used to be drug addicts. So anybody can apply, will get you on. So yeah, it's just about people's lives, how you recover from anything, not just substance abuse, anything in the world. So we have a guest on once, twice a month, if that. But Daddy, please stop drinking. That's my daughter that I never saw for 28 years. Obviously, that's me. If you look at my eyes, I'm full-blown addiction and alcoholism. This girl here contacted me 4 years ago after all that time on Messenger. I woke up in the middle of the night and this girl here, Charlie Kelly, she messaged me and said, Dad, I need to see you. I need to tell you something. I don't believe what I've been hearing over my lifetime. I've just seen you on TV. We flew over there. I was so nervous. I was crying. I was shaking on the plane. We got there. If we walked to the door and had another breakdown, my wife was holding me, and without knocking, she opened the door. This girl here. We hugged, we cried. And this is when you know you're doing God's work. That's why I don't give a shit what anybody thinks about me. You know, do the stuff I've done, then you can judge me. So she walked me into her living room, and this girl here handed me my 3-month-old granddaughter. It was right there and then that I knew that I was doing something. So 2 things. We got talking, and she said to me, remember the last thing I said to you, Daddy? And I said, no. She said, Mom told me it was Daddy, please stop drinking. So there was the title of the book. That same girl we sent back to school 4 years ago, she's now my leading neuro-linguistic programmer, heading up my office in Manchester. We work together every day. It's an amazing relationship. So me and my wife give $150,000 back into the community. We specialize on them one-parent families or dads a stranger and kids are going back to court trying to get 1 day a week with the kids because they're in recovery. We'll buy you suit. We'll pay you legal expenses. We'll buy 6 months of an apartment. So that's what we do personally. But we decided to form the RobbKellyFoundation.org. It's the website, just to help people out. I wanted to do something different because most charities, you send $100, 20, 30 of that dollars, it goes in processing fees and the phone cost. 20 of that goes to the CEOs on $200 million a year, whatever. Every dime that's put into the foundation, you will find out where that's going. So let's say you donate $5,000 and we see a cause. Let's say Johnny in Corner needs it for a detox or whatever, get a parachute. You'll get a letter off Johnny thanking you for the $5,000 that he's received from you, we're not taking anything out of it. So you see where your money's going. So we just want to help. I'm 62 years old today. I want to try and infect my happiness, my recovery, my go get attitude with everybody and as many people as I can. Because I know when I get to the gates up there and God comes out, he's not going to ask me how much money I earn. He's not going to ask me, what's your car like? How big was your house? He's going to ask me one question. How many people did you help, Rob? And that's what I live for today. So yeah, so we got the Borg Podcast Foundation. We opened our English tea shop in San Antonio. My sister and my brother-in-law from England are running it. English people serving English food. Euro Hero Conference, February in San Antonio, Texas. Just look it up. It's all on the website, robkelly.com, ROBBKLLY, KELLY.com, robkelly.com. It's all on there, guys. Friend us, like us. If you need anything for us, brilliant. If you have mums and dads that need, information, but you don't know who to turn to about a loved one suffering, call us up. My wife spends hours and hours on the phone with people. We don't take any money off you. We'll definitely not trying to sell you anything, believe it. I'm booked up for 12 months at least, but we're there to help. I pay staff to help mums and dads because when I was going through my stuff, my mum died earlier than she should with cancer. That really sped up because I was on the streets and she's worrying every single day. Let our family help your family.
What do you tell me that? I'm glad somebody else has dogs besides me.
I've got to mention my little dogs. I've got Henry, you can hear. Sorry, guys, it's my English bulldog. And I have the old man downstairs, Benny, he's getting on a bit, so he just lays on the couch over there. He's no problem. But let me tell you guys, when I do live TV or live podcasts, he will bark. And he's the craziest thing because he won't back all day now. He won't say anything all day. He knows. So big shout out to Henry and making more of that there.
And my little babies all surrounding. Here's the thing. If people can't handle a little dog, then they're not really the type of people I want to talk to anyhow. Thank you so much, Dr. Kelly, for being on. This has been incredible. If you have a friend or a family member that is struggling with addiction, let Dr. Kelly help. Let him be a part of your life. I am so grateful for you to be on the show. Thank you. And I will post all the information for you inside of the notes. Thank you so much for being here today.